This is where it happened. I think I came up to about here. It was pitch black. Had this smell of sulphur. It was very pungent. It was right up my nose. It was a very powerful odour. I didn't think much of it. I thought it was something natural. It was possibly coming from the rocks. I radioed down to base, which was sitting just down on the other side, about 150 metres. Steve got back to me and said, be careful, you know what sulphur means. And again, I was being complacent. I started to smell around the rocks around here somewhere. I was looking for cracks or crevice, somewhere where there could be some sort of moisture or mildew that would cause such an odour. With that, I walked further up here to the top. I was still smelling around the rocks here. Just being very careful where to put my feet, didn't want to slip. We got to the top just here, precisely this point right here where I'm standing. I stood here for a bit, listening, staring out in the darkness. I thought, well, can't see too much. I'll just sit here and listen. So basically sat right here, cross-legged. Put my mag light and my water down to my right. I had my radio in my left hand. I sat there for, I don't know, possibly 2 minutes, staring straight up the hill. And then suddenly from that point there to my right, basically straight up here, something just started marching like a soldier across. Just in here you have a road, a dirt road, a track, then it ascends further up the hill. And it would have been between the road and not quite so the top of the hill. I'd say probably, as a guesstimate, 20-30 metres above the road there. We started to march, and it marched with like an agenda, I guess. It knew what it was doing, and it was certainly not scared of making itself known like most of them. At that point I radioed back down to base and got a head count. They said all accounted for. With that I said, well, I've got company. By the time I'd said that, it had reached that level with me up to this point. So it walked from over here, marching like a soldier, all the way to about that point there. And it's when I said, well, I've got company. When I stood to my feet, it turned to its left and proceeded to run, sprint at a high speed all the way down that hill, descended very rapidly. Hear the footsteps as it's running, pushing through stuff. Then it jumped and it leapt onto the track. At this point, I am, well, first couple of seconds I'm trying to digest it. Last thing I actually thought about was my torch. The whole thing was surreal and I guess overwhelming. I think I started to step back a little bit. I was hoping it was going to stop. By the time it leapt on that track there, I knew it wasn't going to stop. It couldn't stop, not at that speed. I had the radio in this hand, with my hand out, I'm screaming for backup. I'm telling it to stop. I'm busy yelling at it, I'm yelling down there at base. And I'm stepping backwards, little steps, and by the time it jumped onto the track and then it leapt off the track and descended down this slope here, it was not going to stop. And I knew I was in a lot of trouble. Then it raced straight down here. I was standing about I was standing here, it came directly down this track here, straight down this path. So I was standing here, and it leapt. I would have been about here, or here, probably about here, and it hit me. It felt like a forearm, from the middle of my chest to my shoulder. It just felt forearm, and I lost my feet. I went backwards. I still had the radio in my hand. I landed on my back in the water, in here, and I was absolutely terrified. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I was aware that it had probably moved around to my right, so it would have been here looking over me. I was on my back, kicking in the air, and I was rolling from side to side as I'm kicking. And I was doing that because I didn't know exactly where it was, and I was busy yelling and screaming and help. At this stage, the lights from the boys had come up the track here, and I was, I guess, throwing a few punches, and I was kicking and just kicking every single direction I possibly could, just to try and get this thing off me, to keep it off me. By then, guys were coming up here, ascending up the granite, and I said, he's gone that way, he's gone that way. Two of them went off after him. Mika helped me up, dusted me off. We then we took pursuit along with Steve and Neil, and we followed him somewhere out through there. Well, three out of four of us were watching us. We're watching its eyes. Its eyes illuminated in a dull white. There was no moonlight, no starlight, thick cloud cover. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face, yet these eyes illuminated in pitch darkness. You could see them blink when it was looking at us, and it was keeping distance with us, and then when we stopped, it stopped. When we moved, it moved. And whenever it looked around, the eyes in the darkness, and then looks forward, keeps walking, dark, turns round, eyes, blink, blink, dark. And that's how it was. So that went on for, I can't remember, it went on for quite some time. And we sat there watching it, watching us, and it's kind of like a Mexican standoff, really. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. In the end, we gave up and we went back to base.
And how much did that affect you, this whole event?
8 months of not much sleep, trying to analyse the whole situation. Funny thing to say, but I actually felt offended by what it did. I didn't know why. I felt a bit ripped off by it because I wasn't doing anything wrong, not as far as I was concerned. I was just sitting there. It had no reason in my mind to do that. Yeah, okay, it's supposed to be a sacred place for them, supposedly. But still, I don't think it had justification to do what it did. And it certainly didn't behave in a textbook Yowie manner, per se. Well, besides a couple, but you know, they generally walk from tree to tree and try and get a good vantage point and spy on you, not just come out like that. Made no vocals at all on the way down the hill as it descended down, not one vocal. The diaphragm did not bounce as it was running and jolting around. That was different. Didn't say anything. Just ran and ran and ran and leapt and ran and ran and pow. Boom. And that kind of hurt. I was seeing stars. Yeah. But yeah, 8 months of not much sleep, tossing and turning. I wanted to give the whole thing up. I thought enough's enough. You can't get any higher. That's pretty much the pinnacle of all experiences without getting yourself killed. Yeah, I was pretty traumatised. I wasn't quite myself afterwards that night. I was beside myself. Even now, 15 months on, I operate vastly different to what I used to out here. No longer do I venture away by myself. I will not venture away during the night, but I won't come out here by myself like I used to. I'd come out here and spend the whole day, just by myself, traipsing around the place, not a care in the world, never scared. Nighttime, never scared, venture off for an hour, 2 hours, and then come back. Not scared, won't do it now. I think I've learnt my lesson. Don't be too complacent.